Evening. So, tonight, first thing, I managed to remember to put this on video, not just take a picture. If only. Tonight, I'm going to use Carl Gray's Keepers of the Light Oracle deck. And going to do something a little bit different. Going to try and use these cards to try and give us an aspect on a subject we all steer clear of. And that's death. The reason I want to look at this is that I looked after both my parents before they died. And it's not something that a lot of people these days can say that they've done. A lot of people are closeted away. They're not there. They're afraid of actually watching someone die, supporting someone dying. And the other thing that you see is, for those that are left, how the loss of someone inexplicably changes who that person is. Now, the reason I wanted to use Carl Gray is that it has lots of different guides from different cultures, and thought it'd be interesting to see what kind of message we get about what is death. What is death? How we can look at it in a better perspective. How we can remove the fear of dying. We all have two aspects that we know are going to happen in our lives. We're going to be born and we're going to die. We don't know how long we're going to have on the planet. We don't know when the time will come. So, bear with me on this. I just want to see what the cards have to say on what is death and how we can look at it from a more positive aspect. So let's just check and see which ones we got. You weren't too sure, but then you were. Right, done my usual and completely forgotten which one of these two it said not to pick, so let's pick it again. For anyone saying that I'm just moving the pendulum to get the result, one, cards are upside down. I have no idea what's going to come out. Two, when you watch Usually what I'll do is I'll put the pendulum over the card for kind of like 3 moves, and that will give it the chance to decide whether or not that card's going to come out. However, you'll also notice that on some occasions I can move from one to another and it will automatically circle to say that is the card, or it will automatically do a line to say no, not that one. Sometimes, not always too sure, so as I said, I will go back and I'll double check it and see what it says. But at the end of the day, reading what it is. I don't pick the cards beforehand, I'm doing it in front of you, so you can see that this is what is wanting to come out of that precise moment in time. Okay. Interesting. Okay, don't want those. Okay, right. Okay, so we've got 2 cards. Oh no, we've got 3 cards. It's a 3-card pull. Okay, so let's just see what this wants to say to us. Sorry, try and twist that down a bit more. So if I want to show you the cards, I don't have to worry too much. So, before I do this, I was going to say that obviously a lot of people know with tarot cards that there is the obvious death card in the pack. I've watched enough readers, done enough pulls now to know that you cannot read the death card as a literal death. There are other cards in the pack that actually represent death in a more physical way. The 4 of Swords is one. If you know the imagery on it, it's the tomb with the statue on the top of it in the church. The death card usually means an ending of some sort. End of a job, end of a relationship, end of one period of life. So always remember, if you are getting a card reading done and the death card comes out, do not look at it literally. Read it with the other cards around it. You will get the better idea of what's going on. Anyway, so let's just see. Is there an order to the cards? Okay, anchor card. Oh, she's getting a little bit stubborn these days. Anchor card. Yeah, you're changing your mind, aren't you? Yeah, okay. Second card. Outcome. Okay. So we're already in the order that it should be. So, starting out, what is death? So we get charity, prayer and contemplation. Connect with heaven Ask and you shall receive. So already, in a sense, the card's saying that it's connecting with a higher power. It's releasing your earthly body and rising to be spirit. Here you go. There's another one. Serapis Bay. Ascension. I mean, come on. It's a reading on death. So move into your true self. Rise above the darkness. The light is here. Okay, are we getting the picture? Right, okay, let's see what the last one is. And then we have Saint Germain. Karma releasing. Move beyond drama. Create your own path. Okay. Make room for good energy. So, we'll have a look at the book. I think that's actually quite a profound reading in some respects. So, faith, hope and charity are a trinity of archangels who are dedicated to helping us regain our natural traits of kindness, trust and faith in the highest good. Charity is the twin flame of our Archangel Shamiel. She has a great spirit that encourages us to undertake the spiritual practices of prayer and meditation. Prayer is the way that we speak with the divine, and meditation is the way we open ourselves to receive the answers we need to hear. Charity is also the angel who kisses the forehead of all those who pray in support of others. She absolutely loves to see this kindness because it creates an inspirational healing wave of goodwill to the world. I mean, again, I could read the other bit. It doesn't really reflect on what we're saying, though, but this is, to me, really, this is how we should look at death, because it is connecting with heaven, what we understand to be heaven. We all have our own ways of praying. I'm not going to tell people how to pray. Meditation, for me, is probably the best way for connecting with higher beings, releasing, letting go of earthly constraints, relaxing, letting go of the stress. And to be honest with you, I think when someone is dying, it's important to help them to connect, help them to pray, help them to meditate. I certainly did it with my mum. I know she had a lot of fear, and I think part of the reason I had to do this, and I'll be honest with you, I have fought with the universe for years that I would not look after my mum. I looked after my dad, and I always stood there and physically shouted at the universe, I am not doing this again. And yet when it came to it, I had to do it. But one of the biggest things was being able to tell her it was going to be okay. not to struggle, not to fight. When we're released from our physical bodies, think about the power that we will have. We're not tied to tired bones and worn out muscles. We become pure energy. We can be with loved ones, we can look after them without being physically restrained by bodies that have failed. Right, Serapis Bay, let's see what you have to say. Right, let's see. Serapis Bay is the light keeper in charge of ascension. He once served as a priest of Luxor, Egypt, helping those passing on to cross over into the light. Now he is a presence we can call on in order to ascend. Ascension means rising up. It reminds us of the story of Christ being resurrected after death. This means that Serapis Bay can guide us from the lowest state of being back to the light. His energy is almost like that of a phoenix, giving us the support to move out of our own hell or darkness into a space that supports our growth. Now, I'm going to read the extended message on this one. I didn't read it on Charity because I think the card itself spoke. The stars cannot shine without darkness. You may have experienced a low state of being, trauma or depression, but this is a new beginning. Become aware of growth. There is also room for improvement. There's also a sense of presentation now. You may be receiving documentation or certification to acknowledge your growth or experience. It's important to cherish this time and to realise that without the challenges or obstacles you have faced, you won't be as strong, powerful or focused as you are today. You are ascending personally and spiritually at this time, and the universe is here to support it. I mean, again, with Egyptians, whether it was far-fetched, obviously they had a belief in the afterlife. They prepared the bodies so that they could move on. So that we could ascend. Right now, again, there's major upheaval on this planet. Do we stay in the lower energies of fear and loathing and hatred, which has been given free range literally over the past couple of years? Do we choose to ascend? When we die, we don't have a choice, we have to. But the biggest thing is knowing that is a reconnection and we move into our true self. Rise above the darkness, the light is here. Okay. Now, Saint Germain, I'm actually quite interested to see how this ties with the other two. In some ways I get it. We move beyond the physical drama of the world. We then have to find the path across. You have to let go of the negativity, any hurt, anything that wasn't right in this world. We have to let that go to make room for the good energy so we can pass on. Okay. So, Saint Germain was born in France in the 18th century and is said to have been given a new identity because he was the love child of two very powerful people. He was well educated and able to rub shoulders with royalty. He was also deeply interested in magic, alchemy, and the cosmos, and able to perform real-life miracles and turn lead into gold. Now he helps us move beyond social limitations to connect with the right people for the highest good. He's still a master alchemist and able to help us turn whatever is leaden in our life into something that is golden. Okay. Karma is the spiritual law of cause and effect. And again, before I read on, the other thing with cause and effect is although some change their aspects that obviously you're releasing, you do have to face up to what you've done in this life. We've all done good, we've all done bad. If we can make peace with it and let go, before we cross, fingers crossed, that helps. We experience many levels of karma. Some we inherit from our family and some from the people we keep helping out of the problems they keep creating. Saint Germain is here now to clear your energy so you no longer have the weight of the world or your loved one's world on your shoulders. Be aware that an old pattern is leaving your life and creating space for something more loving to enter. Visualize yourself surrounded by a fiery violet cloak to release all the karma you no longer need. And that is where he comes into in the process of dying. We have to release what has burdened us. The more we can release now, the less we fear. We're all energy at the end of the day. Right now, a lot of astrologers are talking about we're moving into a period of great acceleration in terms of evolution. That we can choose now to move forward. What's going on at the moment is actually in some ways karmic. The energies are very similar to 1930s, 1940s. This is a karmic time where the energies are presenting themselves to see if we will do something different. But in terms of what I asked, I think at the end of the day is given quite an aspect on it which is quite positive. And to give us hope. That the biggest thing that you need to be or we all need to be. And if you're watching or you have someone who's on the way, I'll put it that way, be positive in helping them to see it as a new beginning. For those that are left behind, start at this point before the person leaves to help them to find the balance in themselves. Because one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't realise is how much one individual can change another person's survival. With married couples, especially those that have been in long-term relationships, it's so difficult for that person to be left because they forget who they are, who they were. Death, in some ways, I will say, is I'm talking from a physical passing. But the other aspect that I'll mention is relationships. Because when a relationship that you are truly invested in ends suddenly, it is a death. With relationships, you can invest yourself far too much into it and forget who you are. You need to have the balance. And if something comes up that someone in your life, someone that you love, as I said, they either decide they don't love you, they're going to walk away, or it's a physical death. Prepare yourself. It's not being nasty. It's not belittling the other person who's going to go through the process. It's about you being able to deal with an aspect of life that we have no choice. We have to face. And whether that's us dying, a relationship ending, the ones left behind need to try and find who they are as quickly as possible. It's not forgetting the person who's passing on, but it's remembering who you were. Because that is who that person fell in love with to start off with. Give them the strength to be able to pass on and know that they will still be with you in some respect. And on that note, I shall leave it. Thank you for joining.